Hello everybody, it's Justin! I'm playing Furi again, and this is as much fun as it looks like. False, this is not fun right now. Golly. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump right into what the Lord is saying today. So the Lord is saying today, and as showed today, as I said, I'm going to begin to get into the habit of asking him what he wants to say, what he wants to show as well. And he said to look out the window. And he didn't mean for me to physically look out the window, but he's telling us all to look out the window. And that there's a time coming, he keeps saying. There's a time coming and to be looking out the window. And I saw a vision of I was looking out the window, and it was a window of my house, and when I looked out the window, there's a bunch of like fiery darts, or basically a bunch of arrows, and they were heading for my neck. They're coming at my neck and everything, and that is where the enemy had been sending his main attack, is towards the neck, so as to shut somebody up, as to suffocate them, to shut them up, and then make them be silent and things like that. And I saw that the sky, when I looked outside, it was red, but it wasn't like a deep red. And usually in the Bible, red means power and wisdom, and the inverse of that can mean war and anger. And so there was this war just against what it is that the believer can say, and that so whenever you try to go outside, and maybe voice yourself or to express yourself, that the enemy will always tell you to be quiet and always be shooting for your neck. And there's a time though that's coming where that attack is no longer going to work, and that the shout, and so like I actually was cried out, and the darkness completely ceased, and even the atmosphere completely changed, and the sky had turned from red to that pinkish red to blue. And in the Bible, a lot of times blue means revelation, knowledge, and community, and it was a light blue also. So it was just, they didn't say it changed rapidly all of a sudden. And there is a time, I believe, that the Lord is saying that you can rest for right now. It doesn't mean like a complete and total rest that you're just sitting around doing nothing, but it does mean that to rest in the Lord. But there's going to be a time where there's going to be this shift that's going to happen. And he said that, and he was saying that it already happened, that the huge shift had already happened. But he was saying that there is going to be this movement that's going to happen where a lot of believers are going to be, I guess, from what it looks like, vocalizing and not being silent the way that they had been silent before. And, we may say that, a lot of people are already doing that because of social media and things like that. But I sense that it's just different. It's just different in expressing what it is that God is specifically doing. So I think what it really is that there's been a lot of people who are online, and they're preaching the word, and that's very, very good. You will always hear me affirm anyone who's preaching the word, because that's our guidepost, basically. But there seems to be this other piece that's coming around, and it's going to be more in the supernatural, and I see myself going into that direction more and more. Obviously, this shows evidence of that, and so does Kingdom Hearts and things like that. It's just that it seems that it's going to be just not just with me or a few people or a handful of people, but it's going to be just this global thing that's going to happen all across the world, where it's going to be a lot of believers expressing themselves in their kingdom culture. Because Jesus was always preaching the kingdom. He was always preaching the kingdom, always preaching the kingdom. And, go ahead and look it up if you want. He was always preaching the kingdom. And we have this culture, this kingdom culture that I call it. We had this kingdom culture, and we think that it's so one-dimensional. And that is a gross underestimation of what it is that God really has made us a part of and what this inheritance actually is. And there's so much more to him, you know, than just that. And we see constantly even in the Bible where God is showing more of his sides of himself, you know. So there's a certain a revelation that was given to Noah, then even more so to Moses, then even more so through the minor prophets, then even more so through Christ, and then even more so through the Holy Spirit. You know, like this is always this escalation about God revealing more and more and more of himself. And, you know, to stay in the safe zone of, well, this is the amount of revelation that I'm comfortable the Lord having in my life, you know, I think that's kind of like, well, that's not a great thing for you to kind of cut God off, you know, and saying that, you know, okay, Lord, that's far enough, you know. So again, it goes back into that embracing this newness that God is bringing in, and it's just really refreshing to see that. And I have some other videos that are that go back a few days about, you know, embracing the newness and resting and all these type of things are just kind of coming into fruition. But now I'm just more open to receive the vision of it too. So it's really exciting, guys. It's really exciting. So, you know, let's not bring in, you know, doom and gloom into the prophecy, you know. Always bring in the fact that God is going to restore. So he's in the restoration business. So he's restoring again some things that have been lost. And I think it's the expression through the gifts and talents and arts that bring about culture. That's what, you know, every kingdom has a culture, you know, and it's expressed through the arts and other means and written language and artistic languages and creating things and all that type of stuff, you know. And Jesus himself even says, on earth as it is in heaven. So he wants us to bring down the things of heaven down to the earth as much as we can in our lifetime, and to be playing our purpose and playing our role in that, to bring the revelation, the chunk of heaven that he's given us and revealing to us down to the earth. Because, you know, that's what Jesus did. He brought some culture down to earth. And God even brought his son down to earth. So this whole idea of not bringing these elements and these revelations of heaven down to earth, you know, is not what Christ was teaching either. So, you know, I'm not saying that we're going to completely terraform the earth realm to heaven, you know, because there's going to be a new heaven and a new earth and things like that. But I am saying that, you know, there's an assignment that we're supposed to be going towards, and it's not just sitting around being comfortable or condemning everything or being fearful about what this is, what that means, and freaking out and trying to play everything safe. You know, it's like, no, we're supposed to be playing everything wise, not safe all the time. It's okay, nothing safe about this whole journey with Christ. Ask the disciples, they'll tell you. Alright, guys, that's my time. You can look at the description, links in the description below. Like, share, and subscribe if you want. And I would encourage you to do that. And the links in the description are going to be other ways to support this movement of God. And I want to be able to get to the position eventually where I am supporting not just myself, but other believers as well in terms of the kingdom art stuff that they are assigned to do. So, alright guys, that's my time. Loves and hugs. And I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Thank you once again to my Patreon supporters. It means so much to me. Just look at them. Just look at these people. Just look at it.